question of excuses of the past, we'll know that I don't think the masses will be in position to accept those excuses. You know, putting the blame game methods. So this is the reason why I didn't do this. I don't think that's good. And you are going to have a regime with a much weaker social base, and you are going to have a ruling party with more turbulent conflicts within them. You know, so we are in for a turbulent, you know, period, and you are also going to have a regime that you know is sterile as regards, you know, putting forward the economic lines that can move humanity here forward. You know, so within that context, more instability is what is guaranteed with the current arrangement that we have.
As Buhari weathers the storm and the questions of his winning the polls is concerned, a lot was said, so to say, in a few words, in his national address to the nation before this governorship elections, and he said that Nigerians, in fact, he encouraged Nigerians to go out there and vote irrespective of party affiliations. Doesn't that tell us that there seems to be a change in mindset of the president?
No, you see, you cannot judge the demeanor of the president based on utterances. There are so many things that have been said that have been denied. You know, if you wish him a happy birthday today, he's going to tell you he wasn't born today. You know, so based on that, you cannot hold anything on anybody. These are people who deny their own promise to the people, what they call the mandate to the people, precisely. So when we see the machinations of populist parasites, we must not believe them or hold them as any holy grail or anything that we can begin to base our thoughts on or expectations on. We've been failed before, and then we should not be failed again. So it is time that Nigerians begin to look inwards and begin to know that it is time for us to understand how to redefine leadership enough not to see it coming from, you know, a particular pulpit or coming from a particular place, because we are not in a fiefdom. This is a democracy, which means the people matter, which means political will count for something, which means when a government is useless, hopeless, and helpless, that you people can come together and demand accountability from them and even ask them to resign. So it is not that they are there and they own the place and they can do anything they like. This is not the period of the judges where people do things as they like, as they seem fit, where people cook their own children and share, and some other people, when it's their turn to do the same, they hide their own children. This is not where the kind of time we're living. This is 2019, where people need to understand what is going on in other countries, see the position of Nigeria in Africa, and know that we're holding an entire nation back. Nigeria is not just a country in Africa. Nigeria is the heart of Africa. And if the people in Nigeria who are meant to drive Africa forward don't recognize who they are, for goodness sake, how long are we going to continue to stroke our chains? How long are we continue to live in slavery and enjoy it and normalize this and reinforce this as a norm? How long will birds born in cages see flying as a disease? So these are the things that we need to, you know, begin to raise the consciousness of the people about, and then let them know their rights and let them know what they can do. We are not helpless. And what they want to do is to supplant the will of the people and see them as helpless fools who only wait for trader money before they can feed their children.
Let me look at that issue. Let's consider that issue. You spoke about raising the consciousness of the people. It's about the people themselves. Actually, how will you assess the consciousness of Nigerians at this time in order to take their destiny into their hand, considering the fact that they didn't even turn out for the votes?
Well, as I said earlier,
to vote for credible candidates who cool.
You ask yourself the question: to how many persons has the gospel of new quote unquote reached? The consciousness of the masses is not an automatic thing. It's a thing that follows a process. People learn more from their experience than from books, and don't forget that you have a whole layer of people who have not even had access to formal education.
So are you saying, I agree with your indulgence, are you saying that Nigerians have not learned any lessons?
People have learned. No, look, the masses of Nigeria have done more than any other in Africa, and I think we need to give it to them. I don't think you can count the number of African countries today that have experienced close to 9 general strikes. You know, the number of in Nigeria, it's necessary for you to look at how many military dictators have come and have gone, you know, within the span of our years. In some countries, it's still the same regime that is there. You should appreciate what is happening in Cameroon, you know. So within the dynamic, there has always been turbulence, and there has always been challenge, you know, and there has always been revolts and counter-revolts. There has always been growth in consciousness followed by a disillusion. And don't even forget that the regime in power came on board selling a huge illusion to the people, and people coming after experiencing that, you know, which is one of the reasons why people need to be very critical, particularly when seeing people need to speak out when they see a deceitful process taking place, like the current regime that is in power. You know, people, I'm sure, because I during that period, I know, came across many persons who are thinking, oh, the second day this man is going to put in prison all the corrupt persons. This man is going to, except they start doing it.
Body language.
Well, and you know, that has an effect on the consciousness, particularly when they do not have. And don't forget, there's been a gap. You know, a serious gap of I don't want to quantify it. So you know, when you have that, it does create some setbacks. But also within that, you are seeing a growth. You know, a new movement has developed. A new movement has developed among the youth, you know, and among the most critical, and amongst the diaspora, which is even very important. And one thing about the society is this: that the tendency is for you to even have people who are well off being more critical. People in the middle class who are well off at times having their own consciousness far higher. You know, if the electoral process is to be decided by Nigerians in diaspora today, what is happening in Nigeria what you have in Nigeria will definitely not happen. If that is, if they have to have a vote, you know, definitely they will not vote for any of these two, you know, these two regimes. So that is a thing for us to appreciate. So that because the tendency is, if we do not look at the whole picture, you know, at times we might think that because of course, which some people promote, the ends justify the means. You know, if you don't look at the whole picture, you may get disillusioned and think that something has not happened. Things are really happening. You know, a new layer is completely developed in spite of, you know, the pressures of that not taking place. In spite of that, the minds of people have actually gone other side, and you know, it's only a matter of time before you see it materialize in other ways.
All right. One of the bases for raising the level of consciousness had to be the campaigns. I mean, you mentioned the litany of illusions that were projected to the people way back in 2015. And Sega, looking at the campaigns of the governorship candidates across board, have they addressed the bigger issues facing Nigerians?
Well, I want to believe that to an extent they have. And they have in various ways, in diverse ways. I was actually impressed with the way that the candidates, you know, across board anyway, the three major ones that I know, Sanwo-Olu, JK, and BOG, Baramosi, and the way they, you know, carried themselves, the way they've done their best, you know, to communicate with the people and all, and also to avoid the holes. You know, there are times when you make so much sense, you know, you can't make logical sense when emotions are high. You understand? So in order to connect with the people, you need to address and engage them where they are. You need to teach the way they will learn. And from there, you need to also avoid as much as possible avoid your irritating their socio-political sensitivities by saying things that they may not be able to, you know, connect with. And from there, I think they've tried their best. But again, they know within themselves that it is not actually the political campaigns that actually engage people. It can endear you to people, you know, but it does not actually guarantee the fact that you are going to actually win the election. We've seen a lot of candidates show prowess, you know, in debates. We've seen a lot of candidates show clarity and show perspicacity in understanding of what they want to do for the people if they are given the opportunity to serve. But we've also seen how people receive that. They loved it, they appreciate it, like they're watching a reality TV show. And most of the people who are supposed to vote to back up that love, to put effective demand behind that acceptance, are not out there to vote today. And what does that tell you? It tells you that there is a way in which the actions of the anti-democratic forces, affects the will of Nigerians. And so we can imagine a better, greater, new Nigeria in our subconscious, but until we begin to take responsibility enough to work towards it, it's not just about the candidatures or candidates. It's not just about running, it's about all of us. Because there's a spirit of leadership and leadership spirit in every citizen of this country. Meaning that we all need to do one thing or the other that we are designed to do in purpose to make sure that Nigeria runs the way it ought to run. And it starts from supporting a candidate. It starts from being a member of a political party or by joining political parties. It starts from holding those people accountable and fighting for your vote and defending for your votes. Defending your votes. So, but in this part of the world, where we have people who are being, groomed, to silence the voice of the people, to create an impression that this is where everybody is thinking. You can imagine going to a polling booth where they are ready to kill you because you are not voting alongside certain interests. So it shows you that voter suppression has been, reinforced as the order of the day, and nobody really wants to give their life or their all to a system that does not really, some people are their own government. They provide their own electricity, they dig their own well, they paint their own house, they do all sorts for themselves, they dig their own drainage, they grade their own streets, and then election will come and they want to go and die for a country or a government or a people who will not remember their streets anymore after the election. So this is exactly what is going on here, which is reinforcing the apathy, and showing that, look, Nigeria is somewhat a joke. But if we continue to see it from that perspective, I don't think not anything will happen until we happen. And how do we happen? Understanding our role in socio-political space and speaking regardless of who agrees with us. And that's exactly what we need to do. And that's exactly what I am doing and I have been doing.
Thank you very much for that. Sheni, he mentioned earlier, let's start with Lagos State. He mentioned some of these Lagos State governorship candidates, Jimmy Agbaje, BOG, and articulating their campaign promises. And one of the issues that has come to the fore in recent time is the fact that PDP seems to be waxing stronger in Lagos. Do you see an upset?
No, we are in a very uncertain situation of which, unlike in a normal setting where you can actually make projections, but to the extent that the powers in the coalition setters seem to be bigger than that in the ballot box, anything can happen. And we have also been seeing several videos in the social media telling us of various processes. And one of the things that we also noticed during the past campaign is this claim by these big parties of structure. They talk about structures, and they have structure, is this their structure that, and these structures actually are things that they invested in to bring, using looted funds, public funds, to bring people in various local councils together. If you go to the various councils of Lagos State and the LCDs, you will see, like in my own local council now, they claim that there are about 800 persons employed there. I wish there are 800 persons. But what we know, but what is happening is that this, quote and unquote structures are used in periods like this. So in spite of the popular base, they do, they can actually stimulate figures that can be very surprising. You get so normal things do not necessarily apply within the current context. So that exists. Then secondly, as regards these parties, their standings, they're still following the same pattern. Everybody still knows that they are still following the same pattern. And generally speaking, they can speak about, because you see people talk about projects, road, infrastructure, and things like that, all contract. But you don't see them concretely address, the state of the human beings that reside in Lagos. Nobody is talking about, unemployment in Lagos. Nobody is talking about the massive population. Nobody is talking about housing. You know, housing for the poor, or nobody is talking about. And one other scandal is environment. Nobody is talking about the monstrous level of pollution taking place right now. You go around, it seems as if the street, there's no more order as regards the emissions, as regards waste disposal, as regards. So concrete issues, you know, are not being, but everybody amongst them within the mainframe is talking about how they are going to solve transportation, solve this, solve, you know, they are talking down to the people, but how they are going to solve the basic problem of education of the citizens of Lagos, of healthcare for the citizens of Lagos. People are dying of poverty, of no job, or is not on the agenda. It's not even.
That's really serious. Still on Lagos, Sega, we had the wife of this distinguished senator Remi Tinubu coming out saying that they don't trust the Igbos any longer. I mean, coming from a distinguished senator in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, what will you say to that kind of a statement?
Well, I think she's just trying to tap into what we call the mindset of the people, consumerist conformity, in terms of, you know, I know that people just want what they want to eat. So if I say we don't trust, that means I speak for a lot of people. You know, we, meaning we are Lagos, and we control you. You are subservient to us. And if we feel a certain way about us, we're putting in a position to continue to be defensive of that perception, you know, such that you will continue to be subservient to us and be proving yourself worthy and loyal to us. So in other words, these are psychological statements you make to suppress the people. And it is unfortunate that you say that on camera for the world to hear. Under normal circumstances, such a person should not even win any election. You understand? But of course, they will win because they are the ones writing the results. And this is one of the things that consciousness brings about in a society. If you understand your role and how things ought to go, and you know what to ask, what to check, and all, you must know that the incidence of bad governance is not on the government. It is an externality that bears serious constraints on the people. When you look at industrialization, you look at it on the surface of we're going to have jobs, we're going to have products, we're going to have competition, we're going to build markets. But you've forgotten that every industry has what they call waste disposal. They pollute your water, they pollute your atmosphere, they bring about civilization to a particular core, causing more traffic on the road, more carbon emissions, all of which has incidence on who? The people. Are they responsible for that incident? No. How socially responsible, just like distinguished have said, how socially responsible are they to the environment? It is zero. You will never see any company budget that takes care of environmental issues, impact assessments, or what have you. Exactly. What is exactly are the impact assessment of foolish politicians that are being elected to power to represent the people, who don't even see the people as human enough outside the election period, you know, for them to be accountable to? Statements such as, we don't trust you people. You see, look, she's expressing her mind. She doesn't trust herself and she cannot give what she doesn't have, which is simple. And that's exactly the way I see it. Until people start thinking outside the partisanship shackle or prison, or without emancipating themselves from mental slavery, they will not understand the implication of most of these utterances. There are videos that are awash in social media showing different pronouncements where some people sit down and gather hungry mob and talk down on them, you know, in a condescending manner with arrogance, you know, about what they want them to do, to want the INEC to cooperate with them, to bribe them to change results, and all this. And we have this on camera because we know that all the institutions in the country have been balkanized to the point where nobody represents Nigeria, but they're representing whosoever put them there. And this is no longer, as far as I'm concerned, regardless of how you're looking at it, regardless of which view, whether you're educated or you're enlightened or indoctrinated, this is not a country.
Wow, that's deep. Shani, let me get your final thought as we try to conclude this session. He mentioned the fact that these people have the audacity to make this statement. because they could just concoct these figures and results. Nigerians, the electorates, the voters, they registered, they selected the kind of candidate they wanted, and they voted. But the issue of protecting that vote now becomes a problem, because the elites, so to say, have a way of truncating the process at that point by just writing results and conjuring figures as evidenced in these recent elections. What should Nigerians, or how should Nigerians do? I mean, be looking at protecting their votes. I mean, what should Nigerians be doing?
The first thing is to get involved. The first thing is to be part of the political movement for change. Because you see, when you want to defend your vote, you must defend it against something. So, but if you don't have anything, you can't just say there's nothing to defend. So you must have something. And when we are calling for social liberation, economic transformation, and justice, and again to say, to deal with this kind of arrogance outburst that you are having, these are stands that people need to rally around. They need to rally around the urge for unity. They need to rally around the urge for justice, etc. That is the stance. Once that stand is established, which is actually when they refer to the statement I was saying earlier, the subjective issue concerning social change. Once you have that established, all other things will follow. That's the reality of our times.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate